All right, hello, welcome to Peculiar Happenings. I'm Shelby.
And I'm Lee.
And I'm once again frantically trying to get the website to load to see if our recording is recording, to see if this is working.
Mm-hmm. I
Because
think we're just anxious. We're always
yeah,
anxious.
well, I'm quite frankly scarred after the incident where it took us 15 minutes to start the episode because we somehow bungled the technology aspect of it so hard. We not only forgot to like stop the actual WDVL stuff playing, but we also somehow filtered WCVF into here.
Yeah, that was wild.
Because it was the MP3 cable. We must have accidentally hit input B. It was at input B, and we forgot.
Yeah,
to fix it. But I'm still quite frankly, I'm very impressed we managed to do that.
yeah.
It lingers in my
It
brain.
lingers there.
And I'm trying to see if I can get the website to play on my phone so I can. Oh, I can hear it. We are all set. Oh my gosh, Lee. It's crazy. We kind of know what we're doing at this point.
Oh, we do.
Anyway, after our weekly episode beginning mayhem, where we try to figure out if we've done this right or not, let's see what's the plans for today, Lee.
Oh, we got some cool plans actually. You know,
Yeah.
speaking of having some experience in here, and acting like we don't know what we're doing, but we do know what we're doing. It is our kind of 2-year anniversary episode.
Yes, it's the kind of 2-year. Honestly, in my Google Doc, this is originally just called End of Year Review, but I think I'm going to call it. I think I'm going to call it almost 2-year anniversary episode because we have been doing this show since like fall of 2023, so it's been at least one full year. And by the time we start doing season 4 next semester, stay tuned for that, folks. It will have been like a full 2 years since we've started doing the show, which is kind of crazy. Because that's like. We've known each other for at least 3 by that point.
Yes.
Which is wow. It feels like so little time.
It does, but it also feels like so long.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna power off my phone and power it back on because I cannot get my Google Doc to load for the life of me because I have a terrible signal in here. So we're gonna go off script and ramble as we always do. So I think let's start with one of the things because I think my original plans for this episode, I had things written down. Actually, I'm going to take my headphones off because there's nothing coming through them again. I always do this. I put them on. And sometimes there is audio in them like once.
One
and
time.
I have to ask people how to do that because I want the audio all the time, forever, always.
I know. It's so strange.
It's so nice to have the
audio. I feel like we're doing everything, too. I don't know what we did different last time.
Yeah, I have no idea. But, one of the first things I had written down, because I originally planned for this episode to be last semester, because that would have been the first year anniversary of the podcast as a whole, but things got away from us last semester. We were a little busy, a little silly with it. So let me actually say the question, which is just, what episodes have we done so far that you think are your favorite?
Ooh, that's
and
I can
pull up the playlist on YouTube here on this one computer monitor if we desire.
Yes, I have to say this is biased, but probably the Steve episode we did had to be one of my favorites. But I also quite enjoyed our Scooby-Doo specials because I feel like you and I both very much, yes, we love Stranger Things, don't get me wrong, but there's something really nostalgic about Scooby-Doo. And the fact that we watched all of that again together.
Oh, all of Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated and so many of the movies, too. Oh,
because I had never seen those, so it was like a whole new experience for me. So I think those are some of my favorites. I really enjoyed those episodes specifically. So I think those are some of my favorites. What would you say your favorites are?
I had some written down, and look at that! Our first fan fiction episode is up on YouTube.
That was
shout out to Matt Volts.
Yeah, shout out to Matt Volts, and also shout out to that being also one of my favorite episodes. I would think from the newest stuff.
Yes.
I was thinking more earlier stuff.
Oh yes,
but from the newer stuff. I think that was one of my favorites.
So also, I was looking at this. Our first episode has 81 views.
Really?
The Necromancy Convention. The episode that we recorded a little while ago and was posted a couple weeks ago also surprisingly has like 30-something views.
Okay.
I don't know why that one got a little boost. This one makes sense. It's the first one in the playlist.
Yeah.
I don't know why the Necromancy Convention specifically people seem to be like, ooh. But, yeah, I think, let me see if my Google Doc can load, because I did have originally written down what some of your favorite episodes were, what some of my favorite episodes were. I think one of the ones I did have written down for both of us was the Steve special, just because Steve is one of our favorite little dudes. Let me see. Has the Google Doc loaded yet? And the answer is no. That's okay. Sigh. Okay, well, I swear I did have things written down, but my phone is just not cooperating at the moment. Let me think. Actually, Lee, I'm going to send it to you and see if you can pull up the most recent version, I think. Because this always happens with my phone. So let me just do that really quick. You're not Ames J260, are you?
I am.
Oh, you are.
EJ.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sharing that with you. Hopefully that'll go through. But honestly, I think some of my favorite episodes, I think we had some pretty solid concepts in the first ones, but it was more just discussion of the show as a whole. We didn't get into the really weird stuff because I feel like as time has gone on, we've sort of just like I feel like we're sort of starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel because we've just talked about the show so much. We're running out of things to say.
We know all the things we've talked about. We had pretty extensive scripts. We used to meet up and do more script stuff, but now it's just like we're gonna talk because we can talk.
We're gonna talk. I'll throw some stuff in a Google Doc. We'll call it a day. I think honestly, one of the episodes that I really liked. Sorry, I'm getting distracted because there's a lot of talking happening outside the door. I quite liked the John Hughes episode. I think that's just because I'm really a big fan of the thumbnail that I did for it.
Iconic.
I also really liked the 80s movie episode. I really liked the 80s movie episode. I liked I think the first fan fiction episode. I think that was beautiful. I think the second one was fun. But the first one, there's just something about it.
There was just chaos.
It really was that story with feminist werewolf Steve Harrington. I think that really did it for us.
I'm not getting the Google Doc. Try sending it to my school email.
Yes, I will try. So let me.
It should be.
I could try to log into Google Docs on this computer. Hold on, let me get the keyboard out. But as I'm gonna try to talk as I type, which is going to be really interesting for my hand-eye coordination capabilities.
I could do a little mental health check while we...
Oh, we could if we want, but I was just going to say, I think, just to get my last thought out before we do that, we should just make this an episode-ly segment at this point. But I think one of the fun episodes we did, I think it was one of the Radiothon ones. It was when we were assigning what kind of like Christmas cookie or dessert we thought the characters would be, and like Max was like a gingerbread man. I do think that was really fun.
That was fun because that was just like our genuine, random thoughts and feelings. So we were just like, like that would just make sense.
It was like.
Didn't we give Will like a fruitcake or something?
I think Will got we might have given Will a fruitcake, which is kind of
it was
grievous and foul of us, but I also think really, really funny.
Oh, for sure.
Oh yes. I think that one we've had some really creative ones.
We have
some really creative ones. So I'm trying to figure out how to pull up Google Docs on this account. So if you'd like, you could do your little mental health PSA. Mental health with Lee.
Mental health with Lee.
Yeah.
Hey guys, it's been a really tough week out there, I think, for a lot of people. If you're a college student listening to this, you're probably in some of your last weeks of the semester and going to finals week. I know we are. And if you're not taking care of yourself, go take care of yourself. I know I'm one to talk, but, go eat something, go drink some water, take your meds, take a nap, do what you got to do your assignments as best you can. You're going to do it.
This is so true.
With what you're going to know from the semester. You can study, obviously, but then at one point, take some time for yourself and then just go into the exam knowing it's almost over. You're doing so great. Summer is in sights, you guys. The target is right there, and you're going to be on the beach or working with your favorite coworkers, or you're going to be home in your own bed. It's going to be great. You're going to see your pets, whatever it may be. Just look forward to something. You got it. Yeah. It's almost there. Almost there. I know I've been reminding myself that. It's been a tough week. There's been a lot going on. I've had some busy days, and I'm like, soon I get to see my dogs. I get to move. I'm moving into a new house. That's really cool.
Oh, yeah, that is really neat.
So there's lots of fun stuff going on. So just look forward to things. You're going to be okay. And watch Stranger Things. That always makes me feel better.
This is true.
Because to be rather frank, their lives are kind of sugar sometimes. So it might make you feel better about your life and what's going on to dive into some supernatural cool stuff. Or Scooby-Doo is always a great option. Yeah. That's it on the mental health with Lee and Shelby.
Wow.
peculiar happenings.
Wise
Mental
words.
health check.
Wise words as always. Thank you for doing that to try to give me some time. Unfortunately, the signal on my phone is currently so bad I could not even use the Authenticator app to log into Google Docs on this computer.
Oh, so fun.
So you know what, Lee? We're just gonna be freeballing this whole episode. I think I remember half of the things I wrote down. So you know what? We're just gonna do what we do best and roll with it.
We're gonna roll with it.
I think one of the other things that I wrote down was, hold on, I'm gonna yawn.
That's all right. Yawning is good.
I guess sort of how the show has changed since we first came about it, and I want to hear your thoughts on it, and then I'll say mine because I already kind of we could also reverse it because I've already kind of thought about this. I kind of know what I'm gonna say.
You can say it first.
So
go right ahead.
I think the really fun thing about this show is that it's something that initially started. Hold on, I'm gonna burp. Pardon me. I do that a lot. I've realized. There's been so many times on the show I've done that. So anyone listening, my deepest apologies.
That is all right.
I do think the show has changed a lot from its first incarnation because this is the show we started because our friends were tired of hearing us talk about Stranger Things constantly at like lunch and dinner when we used to get meals at Cranny's more frequently. So we were like, it was every day. So we were like, hey, what if we do this? And I still have the episodes up here. It's really interesting to go through and see how it just sort of started with some basic stuff, like our pilot episode, which was just basic introductory stuff. And I'm looking at this picture. Oh my gosh, your hair was so short. My hair was so short.
Yeah.
We had such short hair. But it's really interesting to see how we go from sort of episodes based around specific characters, episodes based around specific themes and like analysis related to Stranger Things, to sort of when we just start to branch out. Because I'm trying to see, correct me if I'm wrong, I think one of the first episodes we did that branched out was the 80s extravaganza, where we talk about some of the movies we've seen, like Evil Dead 2, The Lost Boys, Pretty in Pink. This was sort of like the baby successor to the John Hughes episode, because it had some John Hughes movies, but it wasn't just John Hughes. Episode.
I agree. I think you're right on that. I think we stuck very closely to Stranger Things for a really long time. I mean, that's what the show was born off of. You know?
Yeah. And honestly, I'm pretty excited to get back to it because, like I said, end of this month we're gonna have our first trailer, which you and I are going to watch together.
Oh yeah,
take notes on, save it for an episode at the top of next semester.
Yep.
Yeah, I think for now I genuinely think we have mostly exhausted what we can say about this show to a certain extent. I think we could squeeze a few more episodes out of fan fiction before it starts to get a little tiring. But I think there's enough good stuff, there's enough weird stuff, there's enough funny stuff that we can keep going for quite a while. But I do kind of like that we have the recurring episodes that aren't Stranger Things themes. Like we've had sort of 80s movies ones, we've had Scooby-Doo ones. We did, just for Radiothon this past semester, we did Haunted Doll Watch, which was our first episode with more than just the two of us. And we had a grand total of, I think, 5 additional people.
Yeah.
Because it was you, me, but then we also had Lee. No, you're Lee. Shoot.
Leanne.
I just got so confused I almost accidentally swore because I was like, whoa, what happened? It was Leanne. Yes, there's so many people with Lee names. It was Leanne, Gab, Reed, and Scott.
Yeah.
So we had 4 other people. That was our first episode with more than 2 people, and we had a grand total of 6, which I think is highly impressive.
I do it during Radiothon. That was crazy.
I think it went smoothly, though. I do think that is one of my favorite episodes we've done.
I think so, too. It was just fun to have other people on the show. I love just having you and I, but it was also fun for, like, a special thing.
Absolutely.
And I know all of them going into it were nervous, but then after, they were all like, why didn't we do this sooner? This was so fun. I'm like, exactly. It's fun to just yap with friends about silly topics.
Oh, yes. And that's also kind of how I felt about just, like, sort of seeing the board operation stuff Scott was doing in Graham Can, because I was just like, oh gosh, this is so hard, it's so different. And then I saw Scott actually do it, and I was like, actually, I can do this. This is fine. You just have to like switch the thing over and do the mics as usual, but with just more people. Yeah. So now when we do episodes with more people in the future, I can do that. I'll be banished to Boardland.
Well, I don't want you to be alone. I could always sit with you.
I'll be fine.
You can always figure it out.
It could always be us in like the little board op area, and then our poor guest has to sit just by themselves in this big room. It's like an interrogation. Shine the light on. So where were you on the night of December 24th? Wait, what?
Good cop, bad cop.
Good cop, bad cop. Would you be the good cop, or would you be the bad cop? Maybe we can flip a coin.
We could.
Or maybe it switches back and forth just to kind of zest it up a little.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They never know what they're going to get.
1 second, we're like throwing chairs at them. The next second, I'm like, oh, do you want a glass of water? Just kidding. Bam, 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 bam.
Bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
No, that's great.
But yeah, so that's sort of my thoughts on how the show has sort of evolved. So what are your thoughts? I've said a lot so far.
No, you're good. I love hearing your thoughts on things. I think basically what you said, I think for anyone who's new listening, if you are listening or don't know the lore, Shelby and I met freshman year.
Yep.
And we both realized we loved Stranger Things. And it was the summer right after the 4th season came out.
So there was
a lot of stuff for us to talk about because, we had both just seen it, really. It was still fresh in our minds.
Internet was still a buzz.
It was very much still very prominent in everyone's media consumption, I would say. And I think that's what the show has evolved to is media and, especially like 80s and just nostalgic stuff and kind of weird, silly stuff. That's, one of the reasons why we chose Peculiar Happenings as our name, because it's not necessarily Stranger Things, but it is, all the oddball weird stuff,
Yeah, it did sort of start as sort of a spoof off of Stranger Things because like, what's a synonym for stranger? Peculiar. And then happenings. I think I wish, I don't know if we have it somewhere. I mean, we might have a piece of paper somewhere with other names we considered.
Oh, we might. I have all of the papers saved.
I also have some of the papers, which we need to get together and scrapbook that sometime.
For sure.
Because from the top of my head, I cannot think of any other things we would have called this show other than maybe like the Shelby and Lee Power Hour, the Shelby and Lee Show.
Yeah, we wouldn't have had a coherent name. I feel like this is the name like in my head that when I think of our show, this is Peculiar Happenings.
It rolls off
obviously.
the tongue so smooth.
It does. I think there's a lot to say about that first semester, with a lot of brainstorming, a lot of what do we talk about? I mean, we've talked about a lot of things, but you and I were so passionate about it. It just kind of happened, we didn't
I feel
really
like
need
once it got rolling, we were like, oh, we could talk about this. Oh, we could talk about this. Oh, we could also talk about this.
I think definitely as you look at our shows, you can see how it changed. Like you said, of stuck to Stranger Things, and then suddenly it started changing, and suddenly we watched more stuff together. We talked about more things. It's definitely been kind of like a 80s and 90s type or nostalgic type media, like movie media analysis stuff. But I think, honestly, especially with the Haunted Doll episode, I think and the fan fiction, we've started going off into new directions, and I think that's really fun. And I think a lot of things, a lot of podcasts do that where they stick to something or there's an idea and it changes over time. But I think it's just cool because we've changed as people and we've also, the show's changed. So I think that's just really cool. And to still be sitting here when it was a joke at first. It was really much just a joke.
It was a joke.
Michelle
like,
would always
go,
start a podcast.
You talk so much, start a podcast.
Yeah,
You're like, okay,
stop talking at dinner. We're like, actually, there's a place on campus we could do that. And then that's how we found our way to the radio station.
Exactly. And to go off of what you're saying, I think it is really interesting because you really can see the show evolve over time because both like in terms of thumbnails, because we go from you doing the thumbnails at one point to me doing the thumbnails at one point. And
very different styles.
Very different styles. My first thumbnail, I will not lie, it's a little rough.
I think it's amazing.
I did my best. It's a little rough. I like the little doodles on the side because the first thumbnail I started doing for the show was for the side character Bonanza. And it's my face and Lee's face edited onto Robin and Steve, and I've got little doodles. But the way I did it, I wasn't quite used to doing editing to the way I'm at. And I'm still getting better. The more I do it, the more I improve. I really like the most recent thumbnail I sent you. I think it kind of slays. But there's some very clear pixelation on the picture of Lee's face I edited in. But I think it's very fun to go through and see, because I think the one where I finally start to get the hang of what I'm doing is the John Hughes episode.
Yeah.
Because that's when I sort of start to theme the lettering and the little things to like the color palette of the picture I'm using. And then my most recent one for the fan fiction throwdown, it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful.
It is.
I think that one was your request specifically. I was like, what do you want to do for the thumbnail? And you're like, I want you to find like 1950s pinup art of like a housewife
like a
and throw us in there. And I was like, okay, I can do that. Bet. I also, no, you're fine. I also, definitely listening from the beginning, I think we still stumble a little at the beginning. I'm just nervous about like, oh, are we actually recording? Is our audio fine? Ever since we had a little mix up. But I also think we've definitely both become more confident.
Oh, for sure.
In like the recording setting. because I remember the first time we were doing this, we were so scared. The first time we were doing Radiothon, we were on the actual radio, was terrifying.
Was.
Oh my gosh, there's so many other things we need to remember. We're on live radio. If we mess something up, if we accidentally swear, you can't just edit it out because we're on live radio.
We were like shaking in our boots. I know I was so nervous. I felt like I was going to be sick.
I didn't sleep.
And then you didn't sleep.
I didn't sleep well the night before.
Yeah.
Because I was also far more anxious like freshman, sophomore year about basically everything. So I was like, oh goodness me, I'm doing something new and it's scary and I could mess it up a lot of ways. So I was very restless.
Yeah.
It was the same way that I felt before a lot of my previous driver's tests, which is my other previous driver's test. I also always struggled sleeping the night before.
Yeah.
Just because it's such a huge nerve-wracking thing.
Oh, for sure. I definitely struggled with that as a kid. I feel like I want to do a little shout out to just the show in general because I think just talking about that change too in our personal lives, I know like you struggled a lot with like that confidence and that anxiety. I did too. And I know like freshman year I was in a really bad place. Yeah. And I mean, we started this podcast in, was it
our first episode was 2023.
2023,
October 2023 specifically. Our first episode was the pilot. And I love this for us. Our second ever episode was our Halloween episode.
Yes.
The Halloween extravaganza.
And that was very fun. And I think, you know, as a lot of people our age, I feel like, because I think, sorry, I'm getting a little off topic, but I think
fine.
A lot of people...
this is the off-topic show.
Yeah.
That's like our second name after Peculiar Happening.
That's true. That should be like our other thumbnail thing. Just
that's our slogan. That's our motto, actually.
That we live by, you know? It's not necessarily something we explicitly say, we just live by it. I think a lot of people our age are a lot more willing and capable to admit when they're struggling with mental health, or it's become less, there's still a stigma, but it's less stigmatized. And I know freshman year, I was just talking to Michelle about this because we did realize how much time has passed. We just had the English awards. This was my third time attending. I didn't get an award this time because I didn't submit anything, and I had a bit of an off year.
They should have given you $1 million bajillion.
Thank you.
$1 more billion.
$1 more
straight
billion
from the school's budget, specifically for you. They should have.
Thank you.
They should have.
I'll split it with all my friends so we can all afford school.
Oh my God, yay.
Because it's way too expensive to go to college these days. That's another thing. The economy, man. The economy.
Anyway, to get back to what you're saying.
But I was in a really bad place, and we started the show, and it just became a weekly thing. And I know there were some episodes we missed because I would text you like, Shelby, I really can't do this today. And it's not that I didn't care about the show at all. But I look back at that person, and I mean, even last semester, you know, we took a break, and I really missed the show. I was drowning under things, and I thought I could do it on my own. But really, I feel like the podcast became a weekly marker point for me because we always did it towards the end of the week, and it was like I made it through another week. And there was a long time where I didn't think I'd make it through another week. And so the show and being here with you really changed that for me. And so I think, you know, it does hold a special place. And, you know, I think it's really cool we made it this far. You know, even though we did take a break, we're here now.
Absolutely. And you're getting me a little emotional talking about that.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. But no, I absolutely agree because it's like I think this is really a nice thing to end off the week, especially because you've been a lot busier these past couple semesters. I've also been a lot busier these past semesters. And this past year, I've been at the townhouses, which is a little further away from campus. Which listen, there is no circumstance where I will not walk from the townhouse to campus. If I can walk from the townhouses to the campuses at 5:30 in the morning in the middle of December for Radiothon last semester. It wasn't a snowstorm, but there was loose snow and there was wind whipping all around. It felt like It felt like I was in a tundra walking 5:30 in the morning, a nice brisk morning walk. If I can do that, then I will walk to campus for literally any other reason too.
Yeah.
But I think the show is also just really nice because because we haven't been able to hang out as much this semester and last semester. It is just really nice to know that there's this one day, there's this one like point in time at the end of the week where I will get to hang out with my friend Lee, and we get to, and we're gonna be able to like, you know, chat and have a good time, and maybe we'll get snacks at Willie's afterward.
Yeah. And I know I kind of imposed today, but like I came before we
you
even
did.
Like,
Excuse
did
me, no,
the
you
show,
didn't.
And I feel like that was really
no,
fun.
You didn't.
We got to rant about some fun stuff.
Yes.
I love ranting sometimes. Sometimes it's just a good let off the steam.
You did not impose. If you just show up at our door, we just like, oh my God, Lee, we're so happy to have you here. Here, have some dinner.
I know. Every time I come to your townhouse, you're like, have food. And I'm like, thank you. Well, but I don't want to take, but at the same time, I'm like, thank you. I do appreciate it.
Because we have a lot of leftovers a lot of the time, and usually I'm the only one that eats them, and that's only if I have time. So we usually do just have like a couple Tupperwares in the fridge kicking around of food that needs to be eaten, or else it's just going to be wasted. And I know we also got a lot of hungry college student friends that might be running a little low on the old meal
Scott
points.
and I showing up to your townhouse.
Yeah.
Can I have the leftovers, sir?
Please, one morsel. Literally. Literally. But yeah, no, that's absolutely. We don't mind that at all. Like it was honestly, it was really fun to have you over before we did the show, because then we were able to walk here together. We frolicked in a field a little bit.
We frolicked in a field of flowers.
I
don't think anyone's gonna believe us, but yes, we frolicked. In a field of flowers. We have
the pictures to prove it.
Yeah, we had to stop though because Shelby's ankle hurt.
Yeah,
which is okay because honestly, I was a little out of breath. I didn't want to say anything, but I was like,
I frolicked a little too hard. I was on that frolic mindset grind set. Frolicked a little too close to the sun. But yeah, and I was gonna say, I think honestly, of our episodes as a whole, you can look through them and get the sense of like how we've improved at doing this. Because even the episode descriptions, like I was just looking at the description for the Halloween extravaganza, it's literally 2 sentences, and then I look at like my most recent episode descriptions, and it's like I have a funny little paragraph, you know?
Hey, look at that.
But again, also in terms of being confident, I think the best way, if you wanted to hear like the most quick and efficient way to hear, I think, how we've improved would be to listen to each of our Radiothon episodes.
Oh, yeah.
Because the first one was really fun, where we did the quizzes and the trivia, and I think we should do something like that again, because I think that was really fun.
That was fun.
It was rough. It was a little rough.
Sure.
We didn't really know what we were doing. At one point, I forget if it was at the beginning or if it was in the middle. Hunter, who's not really around the station anymore. I haven't seen Hunter much, but I think Hunter used to be one of the people who did here.
Hunter graduated.
Yes, Hunter graduated.
Yes.
But I haven't seen him around much. In the middle, I forget if it was the beginning or the middle. We're trying to get things going. The door to the booth just flies open, and we heard people yelling like dead air, dead air, dead air, and we heard footsteps, and the door flies open. People come in and start fiddling around and stuff, and you and I. We're looking at each other like deer in headlights, like, oh God, like, what happened? What's happening? But
it was a little intimidating. It wasn't something we did, which is kind of good to know. It just, things happen when you have the radio on for 24 hours and you're trying to keep things going for Radiothon.
Oh yes, but there was that episode, and then we had our second Radiothon episode. Which was that one? I co-opted it for my final project for a class.
That was fun. I really enjoyed that.
I'm glad you enjoyed it, because it's not my favorite. I'm like, we could have done something so much cooler. I feel like the class itself was, a little difficult, but I think it wasn't the most terrible. And I'm trying to remember, do you remember what we did for our third Radiothon? Because I genuinely cannot remember.
Wasn't that the one where we did the Christmas one?
Was that the Christmas? Well, I don't know, because I have
we did the Christmas cookies. Oh, wait, I think we did mention all the ones that were Radiothon, didn't we?
Yeah, I don't know. Because I think there is a Christmas one here. So we had our holiday special, which was the last episode of season 1, which is where we assigned each character a holiday-themed dessert. I might be able to pull up our specific Radiothon episodes, but they also don't have like descriptions. So I generally cannot remember what the third one was. I'll have to listen through and I'll get back to you sometime.
Our most recent was the haunted doll one.
Our most recent Radiothon, I think it is a shining star. It is a gem. I think that was really fun. And I'm really glad that Leanne was able to make it. I'm glad that Gab was able to make it. Unfortunate that Angelo wasn't, but we're definitely going to do it again, so Angelo can absolutely come.
Oh, for sure. I think he does want to.
Oh, yes.
I know Reed was telling me afterwards that he was sad that he hadn't done this sooner with us.
Yeah.
Because he was like, this was really fun.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I feel like I've only gotten to know Reed a little better this semester, and it's like, well, he's graduating.
I know, it's really sad.
It's unfortunate.
It definitely is. It's hard. There's so many people on campus doing so many different things that sometimes things don't line up.
Yeah.
It is unfortunate, but another thing, thinking about how we've grown and how the show has grown is when we were doing the show, right when we finished, Reed kind of leaned over. I don't know if you heard him say this, but he said, you guys have really good, like, radio voices. Like, you guys are really good on the radio.
I think he said that afterwards, too.
Yeah. And it was like,
which is
that's really cool. Like, do we? Like, thank you.
Yeah.
We just kind of talk about things. We're just ourselves. I don't think we've ever been, like, showing, like, we don't do like personalities or anything. We're our own people.
I think the closest things like a structured radio thing we have is we have our sign on, we have our sign off, and that is about it. Everything else just off the top of the dome.
Oh yeah. The best planning, the best way to do things.
The best planning of all time. But Yeah, I don't know. It's because I do listen back to some of our episodes sometimes. I get distracted sometimes because I'll go on YouTube to see if the new one's uploaded, then I'll start listening to an older one when I'm doing my homework in the library. Then I'm like, I'm paying too much attention to this episode. I need to actually do my homework.
It's like, oh, that was a really good point.
Like, oh
Shelby.
yeah,
oh my god, gosh,
Shelby from the past. You're onto something.
You're onto something about this thing.
It is really unfortunate, I think, that we were only able to get Reed and Scott in here doing the show with us once before because they're both leaving. But I'm glad we were able to get it at least once. Yeah, I'm glad we were able to get them here with us for at least once because I think it was really. I think Scott like pulling up how much a doubloon is worth in the middle of the episode after betting 2 doubloons on every doll is one of the funniest things I've ever witnessed in real time. Because I just look over and I'm like, oh, Scott's pulled up the Wikipedia page for doubloons and oh, they're worth 0.0008 of a dollar.
Gosh.
It was a good episode. And
such a Scott thing to pull up.
It is such a Scott thing to do. I'm quite excited to see what we do for the next episode. We have multiple people. Yes. I think it could be a real treat. I'm gonna see if my Google Doc has loaded yet. I do not think it has, so we might just have to keep going. We might just have to keep going.
Yeah. I do actually have a question for you.
Yes.
Because we've been talking a lot about how the show has changed, and like the past of the show, kind of how we got here.
Yeah.
What are you most excited for in the episodes to come?
Oh my goodness.
There's so much.
Honestly, I'm excited for the show in general, but I'm also really excited to be able to watch it with you for the first time because we've
never done that.
We have never done that because as we mentioned, like all the other episodes, I'm used to watching the show with my family. And when the most recent season came out, that was the summer after we graduated high school. So I was just coming out of high school seeing that. You were just coming out of high school seeing it. This is going to be our first time and last time being able to watch a season for the first time together, which is it's a little bittersweet, but I think it's going to be really fun, and I think Leanne and Michelle are going to get totally sick of us because we are going to be sat on that couch
We're not gonna
every evening, every weekend for however long we need to until we watch all the episodes. And we are going to be losing our minds.
Michelle hasn't even seen the rest of the series.
Yeah, and she's any of it.
She's gonna have to put up with them. We're gonna be like, guys, the TV's ours. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
I think Leanne would definitely join us though. I think
Leanne has seen the show. Leanne does enjoy it. Leanne's just like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. And you and I, we're gonna be in the corner like shaking, going like our foaming at the mouth, like.
It's gonna be like when we watched Rent all over again. I'm gonna be sobbing. Like there's gonna be something that happened where I get really excited, and the next moment I'm like a crying mess.
I'm trying to think. I think the only other thing that might match the energy is when I made you watch Lisa Frankenstein that one time. You weren't even excited about that.
It's just yelling.
Yes, because it was just so unexpected. Some things that happened, and I wish I thought to tell you about the one scene.
Yeah.
But also, I think it's such a fun movie, and I'm glad you watched it with me at least because I really do like that movie. But I know it's the kind of movie that like Leanne and Michelle hate.
Yeah.
It's camp. They don't have an appreciation for camp.
Yeah. I will say that's something about me that's changed. I didn't used to like really like any version of horror, but since coming to college, it depends what kind of horror. I could never watch The Conjuring.
Oh yeah.
I got an ad for a new one and I was like, sorry guys,
there's a trailer for the new one like on the YouTube recommended on the computer.
I was like, click through. Okay, watch that. It started playing and I was like, nope, out of that reel that I was watching. But I feel like, since meeting you and since coming to college, I write a lot more sci-fi, like more psychological stuff.
It's all going according to plan.
Oh yeah, and then we started watching campy stuff, and we watched. I think one of the first horror things I watched with you was Grateful Dead.
Evil Dead 2.
Evil Dead. Why did I say Grateful Dead?
Grateful Dead is a rock band.
That is a rock band. With the Bears. Why was I even thinking?
Hey, they both have Dead in the name. It's confusing. But
Evil Dead. I'm so sorry. That was one of the first ones we watched together.
Yes, and we still have to watch Army of Darkness. We've gone like 2 years without watching it, but
it's okay.
We'll get there. Like it. I have other movies I think you'd like. I still think you'd like Reanimator just because it's so bad. You honestly,
I do want to watch Scream.
We can watch Scream. That is a bit more horror than I think you're used to. I think maybe before Scream we'll do some Reanimator because that's like full camp, and then we'll do maybe a bit of Nightmare on Elm Street. Mainly because I genuinely like the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie a lot. It's like it tries to be a serious horror movie, but it still has a level of camp and a level of sort of 80s schlockiness that I think you would really appreciate. And we also need to watch the second one because it's described as the gayest horror movie ever made.
And I'm so here for it.
And you will see why when we watch it.
I'm excited.
But I think honestly I'm really excited to see what happens. Obviously, it's going to be bittersweet because the show is ending and it's also going to be our senior year, but it kind of feels fitting because this is a show that again, it started when like I was in middle school when we were in middle school. the most recent season came out like after we graduated. I think honestly, you could mark a lot of milestones in like our lives specifically for the year we were born with like what season of Stranger Things came out around that time, which is kind of really weird, but also fun in a way.
Yeah, it's like every like end of middle school kind of era, and then end of high school. Now end of
and it's gonna be like end of college era.
Yeah.
Oh, scary.
Horror. That's the real horror of all this.
That is.
It's not Stranger Things, which is going to be more horror based and more not young adult anymore.
Because after having watched at least the first Nightmare on Elm Street, I've also seen the second, of course, but after watching the first Nightmare on Elm Street, I think rewatching some bits of season 4, it's really clear just how much influence like Freddy Krueger and like Wes Craven and Nightmare on Elm Street had on season 4. Like it's shockingly apparent when it comes to some of the stuff with like Dream Realms, but you'll see that when we get to the movie because I don't know how much you know about. I don't know how much you know about.
I don't know anything.
I shan't say it. They have a young Johnny Depp. There's a young.
I love Johnny Depp.
And the main character is named Nancy, and that is why Nancy is called Nancy Wheeler. It's a callback to Nightmare on Elm Street.
That's great. I just love.
Oh yeah.
I just love Johnny Depp in general. I know a lot of people are like young Johnny Depp, but I'm like Johnny Depp. I love all of Johnny Depp though. Like him as Captain Jack Sparrow. Oh my gosh, had me in a chokehold. That was freshman year. I watched that for the first time. I watched that whole series through. I'd seen bits and pieces, but I never watched them all the way through. And it got me through the first like
Pirates of the Caribbean.
I think October to like what was it? Like November. Is that Johnny Depp? Is that young Johnny Depp?
This is an incredibly young Johnny Depp.
That is
in a crop top
crazy.
In a Nightmare on Elm Street.
That's crazy. An icon.
Honestly,
is that $155 that you have pulled up?
Oh my goodness, yes. Oh, because it's a recreation of the shirt.
It's not cropped. That's lame.
It's not cropped. No, you gotta crop it, man.
Come on, that's not the real shirt. I could make that myself.
You probably could, honestly. But anyway, let me exit out of the tab. I'm still excited to see where we go with the show next because we've already branched out quite a bit, and obviously we are going to have so much to talk about the trailers, about more theories. Which, if you're listening to this now, we did have episode 18, which is the season 5 debrief, which was our initial because we originally had the conspiracy conference from last year. We did another episode theorizing about some things that might happen in season 5. Unfortunately, I think that is maybe our first lost episode.
Yeah.
Because apparently the power in the station went out around the time we were recording. So Matt Voltz, who's been editing our episodes, shout out again to Matt Voltz.
Yes, Matt.
Woo! We couldn't do this without you, dude.
Icon.
Was talking about how when he was playing the episode, he could see like the little mic things moving, indicating there was audio, but there just wasn't any. Yeah. So that might be a lost episode. So I think maybe the first episode we're going to do next semester is going to be the season 5 debrief, round 2. But in addition to some of the previous theories we discussed, because we were mainly just going off of some stills and some episode names that had been released.
And research we had kind of done.
And some theories we'd seen people do online. We're going to have actual, like, trailers to work off of, and I think that is going to be a really fun episode. I think that's going to be a really great way to kick off next semester.
I'm so pumped for this trailer. You don't even know.
Oh, it's going to be so
Actually,
good.
you do, because you're like one of the few people that do know.
We're on the same vibe.
I know. Even I think people still like Stranger Things. I think it's still really popular. However, I swear whenever I ask people about Stranger Things on this campus, they're never as excited as you and I are. I was like, May 31st, trailers coming out. I have that date ingrained in my brain, and everyone's like, oh, cool. They're still doing that show? I'm like, yeah, they're still doing it. What do you mean you're not as pumped? Yeah. Like, come on, guys.
I mean, I think again, I think this is just, it's one of those things that is like, it's near and dear to our hearts and something that's been a big part of our lives.
Yeah, it's a big inspiration for both of us.
Oh,
in many ways.
Because I know part of my love for Monster of the Week, both in like the story writing method, but the role play game system is because it is so Stranger Things reminiscent. Yeah. Like, I have a whole Monster of the Week campaign I might try to convert to an actual book at one point called The Redwater Main Incident.
That's awesome.
That is very, very heavily inspired by that sort of, like, supernatural, Stranger Things, Monster of the Week, like, small town, weird stuff going on.
That's what a lot of my novels inspired by, too. It's like that. It's that complete vibe. It's not like a small town in Indiana, but it's a small town in Maryland.
Is it Forgetting Portside?
Yes.
Is that the name? Yes, I remembered. I'm your #1 fan.
Yeah.
#1 fan. Can I get an autographed copy when you're big and famous?
I don't know if I'll be big and famous, but I'll sign your book no matter what.
You will be big and famous.
No matter what.
I'm speaking it into existence right now.
Peculiar happenings, magic.
Yes. But yeah, I'm very excited to see where the show's going to go next. And I'm trying to think of some other things to talk about because we still have a couple minutes left on this episode. We actually still have like maybe 20-ish minutes left.
Yeah. Had to take my headphones off. They're hurting my ears.
I think I'm gonna yawn. Hold on.
Yeah, and I'm fighting a head cold right now, so like my ears are very like you know when like they get
like congested, like
and it's
stuffed.
Like connected to my throat. Yeah, and my throat's been hurting me for like 4 days, but unfortunately because I've been running so much on like the Trident stuff, I haven't had a chance to rest. So I've been like sleeping like I normally have. I've been sleeping from like 1 a.m. to like 9, and then I'm like up the rest of the day.
Oh no!
And then like I've been running on multiple coffees a day.
Oh jeez,
this has been bad. I've had like 6 or 7 coffees the last like 2.5, 3 days. It's fine. Which I know some people drink more than that, so it's not that bad.
This is true. My dad drinks like at least a pot of coffee.
Shout out to Sean.
Shout out to Sean, the programmer, as my friends call him. Let me think, because I think...
Can I say something so off topic?
What?
In the best way possible.
Hey, that's what we do. That's what we do here.
It's about your family in the best way possible. Your parents, you guys are like... You and Logan are literally so similar to your parents, and like in a good way.
Yeah,
like,
we get this a lot.
I can't explain it. It's just you guys are related. It's that thing where it's like, oh, your siblings. Oh yeah, I could see that. But I see you guys. I'm like, no, you are related through and through. Like just like talking with your parents about like, especially like when I was talking with your dad when I went there last Easter weekend, we were talking about like typing on the computer, and he showed me like his keyboard.
His nice clicky keyboard.
I've been telling Gab about that keyboard ever since I saw it.
So
I'm like, Gab,
good.
you need to see this keyboard.
Next,
I was like, if you ever go down to Shelby's house, make our dad show you his keyboard.
Next time you visit, next time you're in an area, you can actually type on it. It's beautiful. It's so loud. It's like
amazing.
It goes and so
they've got big ones. So it's not just like it's not like the little little clicky things. The little buttons.
It's the big keycaps, which I love,
keycaps.
which is great because I commandeer his sort of workbench in the basement whenever I'm home for like my writing space because he also has his speaker system down there. So I kind of live in the basement because that's also where all the weights are and that's where I do all my exercise stuff. But there's also a little desk. So whenever I type, it's like but it's really fast because we're like so it's like sounds like a factory in there. But no, I know what you mean because it's especially when it's like my dad and my brother are standing side by side and when me and my mom are standing side by side. Like even last time at Christmas, I was walking around my grandma's house on Christmas Eve and some of my relatives came in and I walked by and I was like, oh, hi Uncle Jim or something. And even he for a second was like, holy, I thought you were your mother for a second. I was like,
I get that with my mom too. I've had family, when I cut my hair short for the first time, it was the same length as my mom's. It's grown a little bit more now, like in the back. My mom has very short back to her hair. Mine's longer now, but it's still short. But they were like, oh, hey, Heidi. And I was like...
Who's that? Not me.
My mom's in the other room. What are you talking about? And they're like, "Oh my God, it's you!" And I'm like, "Yeah."
Lee, when your hair is shorter, even when it is now, you do look so much like your mom.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like I look like my dad, but I not as much as my mom. I get a lot more from my mom. I think my sisters are more of a complimentary mix.
No,
of my parents,
you look like very very similar to your mom. It's kind of the way that I look a lot like my mom.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, I think it was last Easter when we realized that Logan and your dad had the same glasses, and they didn't even need it. They both got new glasses, and they both had the same ones.
Because they also have like the same kind of shoes, like the New Balance, like middle-aged dad shoes.
The white
Logan
ones,
does.
or like the grayish white. You know,
Logan has those.
Yep,
it's just it's quite funny.
It's a vibe.
It is a vibe, but I guess besides from watching it together, obviously, what do you think? What are we excited about show-wise? I'm really interested to see how they incorporate, because we did talk about one of the theories. There's going to be like this abandoned radio station that's going to be like sort of their new base of operations / hideout. And it's like, oh my gosh, you know what's so crazy? I can't believe they put an abandoned radio station in there for our characters specifically that just have a show also called Peculiar Happenings in like 1987.
Yeah, they literally like based it off.
That's so weird. Don't tell the Duffer Brothers we said anything. They'll get snipers trained on us like that.
Don't tell anyone, but we're actually in the show.
Yeah, actually,
we can spoil
our good personal friends Maya Hawk and Joe Curie.
Yeah, they reached out to us this weekend.
They reached out to us. It was so crazy.
They're like, guys, thank you so much for doing this show. Like, because they were, like we said, they were the original cast for the show.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, they weren't able to do it because, filming and stuff. And they were like, you know, we got all this other stuff. Joe's making music now.
Yeah.
She's like, you know what? He messaged us this weekend and he was like, hey guys, you know, we're really thankful. We're really proud of you guys to be doing your 2-year anniversary, basically, our almost 2-year anniversary video. And they were like, thank you. You know, I wouldn't have been half of what it would have been if they had done it, you know?
Oh yeah. And you know, it was so nice of them. And you know, do you remember when they flew us out the past couple of days to Hollywood to do some background acting?
Oh yeah,
that was crazy, dude. There were some of those days I was running on like 5 seconds of sleep. I tell you.
Oh yeah, I
and
know.
you with the Trident stuff too. I don't know how you did it.
I was back and forth every day. You know,
it was a grind.
I was really honored to be sitting next to like a published author too. You know, like because you're a published author now.
Oh yes.
For 2 years running in the Trident.
Thank you,
That's
oh my gosh.
freaking amazing, man.
Thank you.
You know, we've been running like crazy. You know, our costumes are really cool. You could see us in the background. You know, like we're writing in notebooks and we're like pointing at a radio and we're like running to it. So that's totally what happened.
And you know, this is a little fun trivia. I think we did an interview somewhere with like maybe what's one of those things like Livewire. I did an interview, you know, where I talked a little bit about how. So the fun thing about the costumes, do you remember how we actually did some of that ourselves?
Yeah,
like I did some of the embroidery. I did some of the costuming myself. Actually,
I signed the back of your shirt.
Oh yes,
we wrote our names.
Yes,
we wrote Peculiar Happenings with Shelby.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yep.
And then they actually let you edit some of the scripts.
Yeah.
Which I thought was just such a fantastic, fascinating opportunity. Like
I caught it. I caught the mistake and I was like, hey guys, you know.
It would have been bad.
It would have been bad.
It would have been so bad.
Yeah.
Hold on, there's something on my pants and I think it's dried mud. Anyway.
You know, actually I do have like a really serious thing I am excited for in like reality is when we get to interview them.
Oh my gosh, when they're coming on the podcast?
One day when our podcast is really famous and we're still doing this, we have our own
podcast
studio.
already is really famous.
It is really famous.
We're actually broadcasting to you live from a studio apartment in New York City right now.
Yeah. We're gonna have but you know our sign hasn't come in. That's what I mean. The sign hasn't come in yet.
Yep.
You know, we're waiting on our blue check marks on our Instagrams right now. The Peculiar Happenings podcast.
I'm waiting for my check from the Duffer Brothers for all of our work. It's a pretty penny. I tell you, I would take care of those student loans.
Oh yeah. But you know, Joe and Maya are gonna be coming on, you know, next season, obviously, and that's like what we're most excited about.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's gonna be so fun. You know, I think we also scheduled it so they're gonna be coming on. We're gonna see some of the episodes. They're giving us some special early access. Yeah. Because again, you know, we worked on the show like you do. You did some really good editing. I think the show is gonna go in a really bad way before you got your hands on it. And they're kind of hesitant at first. They're like, you know, you're a college kid. You're kind of rookie, but you know, as soon as you started going, they're like, "This is incredible." And didn't they also offer you a job like after you graduate?
Yeah, I'm gonna be working for the Duffer Brothers.
And
you were too though on costuming.
Yes,
yeah, they offered you that job. It was really cool,
you know,
because Maya was having trouble a wardrobe malfunction, and then you know she was like, "Oh my gosh, Shelby, I really need help with this," and you helped her fix her outfit. And then they were like, "Shelby, we need you for any other film." So now you're like Maya Hawke's official wardrobe.
Oh yes, and you know, shout out to Maya Hawke. I'm so happy, so happy to be working with you. I'm really hoping they let me do some like design sketches for maybe some of the background characters.
It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be, you know, we have some good stuff lined up.
We got some good stuff lined up for the future.
Yep, you know, we're gonna be living it large.
Yeah, we are.
Living it large.
And the first thing we're gonna do is go celebrate with ice cream.
Oh, naturally.
Obviously.
Naturally.
We don't party here. We eat ice cream.
Yep, we eat ice cream, but we do sometimes fly out to LA.
Yes.
To go to Hollywood to get some ice cream with our good friends, the cast of Stranger Things.
Cast of Stranger Things. You know, it was really cool for the Duffer Brothers to, you know, invite us to be a part of that because they listen to our show every Friday, 7 to 8 p.m. on WDVL 89.5 The Inferno.
Actually, hold on. I just got a text.
I feel like I should shout that out.
Hold on. I just got a message from...
Is it from the Duffer Brothers?
It's from one of the Duffer Brothers. They're not happy that we accidentally said we're going to be working on the show next season.
Oh my gosh, no. We
Sorry,
spoiled
guys. What? We didn't say any actual spoilers.
We were supposed to wait till the trailer. It came out on May 31st that everyone should go watch when it comes out at like midnight.
Yeah.
Dang.
Shoot, they said...
spoiled.
Well, actually, hold on. They're typing. Okay, they said we haven't actually said any big spoilers other than that. Like, this is something we're working on.
Okay.
We just have to stop talking about it now.
We
just have to stop now.
Sorry.
All right. Anyway, moving on.
To what? We're just we were going on with that.
I want to see how long we could keep that going. Honestly, I think we could still be going.
I think we could have kept going, but you know, the Duffer Brothers said we had to stop.
Our good personal friends, the Duffer Brothers, they're just like, you know, you guys, you're getting too close to that territory, and they said if we accidentally spoiled something, we would not get our blue check marks, and we also would not get our checks. So we need those checks. Lee.
We need those checks because
we need
the
them.
economy.
The economy. Anyway, I do think I am really interested to see how the characters adapt to the new circumstances, because I don't think we're picking up right after season 4. But so the Upside Down is definitely, I think, leaking into Hawkins by this point. Yeah. So I'm very interested to see how the town responds. I'm very interested to see characters that, like, how Miss Wheeler had sort of implied that she might already know something was going on.
Characters that have been suspicious of things but haven't fully been immersed yet. I think it's gonna be really interesting, especially like the new police officers, because they think Hopper's been dead this whole time, and I think those two are gonna play a really important role. And I'm very excited.
I wonder if
see how it goes.
I do wonder if they're gonna keep Hopper hidden, because like the KGB is definitely going to be after him.
For sure.
And also probably Joyce and Murray, because they did like just break into the Soviet Union to jailbreak their buddy.
Oh yeah, I think that's one of the reasons they're probably hiding out in the radio station where we will be.
Yeah, but we had a show. I can't say more. The Duffer Brothers. I can see my phone lighting up as I speak with frantic messages.
They're like, watch out.
And they're like,
watch what you say.
Hey man.
They're gonna be coming after us.
They're gonna be coming after us. But I think it's also going to be really interesting to see, because obviously we've had characters die every season. It's going to be really interesting to see, I think, them adjust to the loss of Eddie in a way, because we've had characters die every season, but Bob was obviously closer to Joyce and the Byers than any of the other characters. He was kind of off to his own. Same thing with season 1. Barb was really, Nancy's friend, and we've seen the after fact of that. Season 3, again, there's Billy. He was kind of a jerk, but he was also Max's brother. I think it's going to be interesting to see how the characters grapple with a loss that was maybe a little bit closer to the group.
Yeah, because I mean, even Billy was like semi more substantial in that final season, and we did see the after effects, but it was really only that one episode that was really dedicated to him. So I think it'll be interesting, especially with like Dustin. I really want to see how that goes.
Dustin.
I almost started crying. I saw an edit, and it was the edit of their last conversation.
You sent me that, and I was like, oh.
And it was like how they didn't even know that it was their last conversation, and Eddie was, he was like, Henderson, like, don't ever like change. He was like, Dustin, don't ever change. And Dustin was like, I wasn't planning on it. And that was like their last, like, only the two of them conversation.
I feel like before anything else, that was the moment in my brain I was going, oh God, Eddie's not making it out.
Yeah, no.
Here.
I would love to see specifically something I'm excited for in the show is, I know this is kind of morbid. I always kind of love the sad parts of shows though, because I feel like it is a really strong emotion, and I think it's a really big turning point.
Exactly.
So I really would love to see if they potentially show the others finding Eddie and Dustin, like flashbacks, because I feel like that is something we didn't, I mean, they did that with Max when she was thinking about Billy passing, but that was stuff we saw. This is something they never showed in season 4. I know they were doing a lot, but it was like everyone moved on like it was nothing, when they did spend at least few days pretty close with Eddie. And then he just died, and Dustin was the only one that seemed to care.
Which actually, you just reminded me, I think one of the more valid criticisms I have seen of Stranger Things is that these kids go through these like horrible traumatic things and they just kind of bounce back like it's nothing. Like Steve Harrington specifically, I saw someone the kid was tortured by like Russians, and he kind of just walked it off.
And got a job at the Family Video.
Which I understand, it's at its core, it's kind of a campy, unrealistic show, but I also think it would be really interesting, because we already kind of saw it with Max.
Yeah.
So I think Max is the first character we really saw truly like impacted to the event all these other characters maybe should have been for most of the time by a lot of these things, save for season 1 when the main kids thought Will was dead. So I think it'll be really interesting to see. I wonder if season 5, because it's going to be darker, it's going to be a little more horror themed, I wonder if there will be a bit more examination of sort of the grief and the trauma that I'm pretty sure most of these characters are dealing with after the events of all of the other seasons. Especially, I think Steve would be a really, really, really interesting one. I don't know.
He's beat up in every season.
He is.
Him and Nancy, I feel like, have some baggage that they're not talking about.
Trauma bonding.
I mean, all of them do, but like I feel like they get a lot of like the physical altercations and like some stuff, where they're like taking on that protective older figure to the kids.
We're like, okay, so these kids are dealing with this, but they're also kids. We're the older ones. We're the teenagers. We're the adults. We have to sort of step up.
Yeah.
But again, and we've beat this horse to death. I'm super interested to see if the Duffer Brothers do anything with the fact that Steve got bit by a demo bat.
Excited! I'm so excited.
Because I feel like we've already seen what happens to people when something from the Upside Down like
leaks
even just bites them. Like we know what happened with Elle in season 3 with her leg.
Oh yeah, that was with her powers. That was a whole big plot.
Well, yeah, and when there was like when she got bit in the leg, and there was
that was in it.
That was gross.
Yeah, it was pretty gnarly. Season 3 with a lot of their CGI and practical effects that they did was a lot more gory than a lot of the other stuff they did, even with Vecna, like that. The whole rats and the people becoming the monster, that was just really visual, and I struggled with that episode a little bit when we saw them come.
Like, doing their thing.
Yep.
But
and then they
went actually there's this one YouTube channel I really like because it's this guy, James A. Janice, on Dead Meat YouTube. I'm sure if anyone's listening, you might have probably heard of this if you're internet savvy. Who just does kill counts for a lot of classic horror movies and stuff. And he did a kill count for Stranger Things season 2 and 3. Season 3 is the season with the highest kill count, just because of the nature of the beast of season 3.
Yeah.
It's just, it's cool. I like it. And again, I guarantee you, do you know what we should do?
What?
We should make bingo boards for season 5, and as we're watching, like check it off, and then we can sort of like after we watch a couple episodes, or after we watch all of it, we can review and go through and be like, here's what we got right, here's what we didn't. Because I think absolutely one of the ones I would put on there would be like one of the main characters dying, sadly. Yeah. But I would also definitely put like I swear something's gonna have to happen with Steve. They're also probably gonna try to rekindle Steve and Nancy, which I think
one I would have specifically involving Steve is every time he hits the hands on hips pose. Every time.
He hits the hands on hips, the tired mother, that you listen to me right now.
Every time Dustin mentions Eddie, because I feel like that's going to happen a lot. I feel like he, every time Dustin's like, you forget, like you're moved on. I feel like that's a big thing with like Dustin.
Every time Mike Wheeler is a terrible friend.
Yes.
Every time Will Byers is a little repressed.
Every time Will Byers cries and gay.
Oh my goodness. We're going to have to do that. We are going to have to do that.
Yes, we are.
We are going to have to do that. All right. I think that just about wraps it up for this episode. I think we started a little later, but we're ending a little earlier. So this should be, I think this is going to be like just a little less than an hour, but I think we hit everything we wanted to. So to anyone out there listening, I just want to thank you for listening to our show. Thank you for sticking with us. And Lee, thank you for doing this with me. This is one of my favorite things I do on campus.
Same.
I don't do a lot on campus just because I'm tired. I like my time to chill out at the townhouse and like write and draw. But it is nice to have at least something that's like at least once a week that's a little more chill. We can kind of do what we want with it. And it's just time we can hang out and see each other.
And thank you too for being my friend.
Of course. And I'm really glad we were able to do the show.
Yes. All right. This isn't goodbye. No, we'll be back.
This has kind of sounded like a goodbye episode, I realized.
But it's not.
This is just our almost 2-year reflective. Don't worry, fellas. You still have a full year more of us to go.
Oh, yeah, brother.
And even after that, honestly, we might find a way to do this like virtually.
For sure. I would love to make a YouTube channel. And that we make
because
these.
Honestly, this is so fun. And I really think nothing is going to top like being in the same physical booth recording with you. But I also know that it's like, depending on where things go, depending on where we end up, I know that's not always going to be feasible, but we can definitely do something online.
We can DIY it.
We can DIY it. But anyway, so thank you again for listening. This has been the finale of Season 3 of Peculiar Happenings. I'm Shelby.
And I'm Lee.
Stay weird.